in one of the local government units, which is very rural and a very poor community, life is difficult. So at times there are no electricity, water is difficult to procure, and especially for women, it's tough because I experienced it also when I was a child. I was the one who was like producing the charcoal from the coconut shell so that I can have something for the flat iron because we don't have electricity. And I have to go to the river, which is very far from my place, so that I can do my laundry. But what this care economy strategy is doing is they are making the housework easier for those who are doing it, whether it is a girl or a mother or grandmother or even a man. The LGU was providing labor-saving devices and those that lighten the loads of those who do housework. And in one of these instances, especially the old women who grew old without even experiencing how to cook in a rice cooker, this is a magical experience because they can just leave the pot and come back, and it's not even going to be burned, no? So it's a new thing for them, and they really appreciate it because they said that because of this I can do other things. So it's like getting back the 2 hours that are being lost to them while doing housework. Now they can socialize with their friends and neighbors, and they are more familiar with what's happening in the neighbors because they now have an active social network in their own community because they have the time.
The most powerful care story at Fanbear is witnessing our amazing team, mostly of women, in their professional growth and development. They currently support approximately 6,000 users of care workers and families in the global care economy. Their professional growth is a true testament to women's economic empowerment.
From our work, we found that the support needs of persons with disabilities costs humongous to the family and for the individuals with disabilities. However, we find the government's investment is very, very less, which is 0.004% of the overall social protection framework towards ensuring care and support services. This I say particularly from the context of India, where we have done in-depth budget analysis.
I will never forget the moment where a policymaker, after 4 days of training, finally got up and said, oh, I now understand why care is so important. And for me, that is something that really captures the essence of what our research is trying to do, which is really fundamentally change the ethics and principles with which we think about care for our people and for the planet.
IWAGE is committed to ensure that governments uphold the rights of women in the care economy, and to that bit, IWAGE played a proactive role in engaging the Government of India during its G20 presidency by centering the care economy discourse within the G20 dialogues throughout the year 2023 when India government was holding the presidency. And we started with women-led development, which did not really have care economy as a special concern, but the presidency ended with a special section on supporting women on their care in the G20 communique, as well as in the Delhi Leaders Declaration, and also a commitment from the Government of India to promote the dialogues on care, to sustain interventions in care, and we have been the knowledge partners for the Government of India, the Ministry of Women and Child Development, for all of these conversations and centering care into the discourse.
One of the things that we did recently was work with the domestic workers in different communities. During that process, we realized that how much they are not engaged in the policy-making spaces and how their voices are unheard. We also were able to push the government in enabling them to recognize these voices and also enable a space where they are recognized for their care work and are also supported with the government benefits. This is a huge milestone for our community in Nepal.
Our work highlights the vicious circle created by social norms. Social norms define care responsibilities to be women's roles, and that limit women's time to be spent on their education or participation in the labor market or the leadership roles. And this again in turn redefine the social norms that care work is for women. We need to break this the cycle of this vicious circle. And we cannot do it all alone. We need to do it together with policymakers, grassroots organizations, and development partners, and individuals, including both men and women.
So ADB has been working closely with partner governments to work on innovative ways to invest in care. And one example is a $16 million care project, elderly care project in Tonga, which is really working to improve the quality of infrastructure for elderly care services and invest in the elderly care workforce, which you know is currently more than 90% of women. It's also working to encourage more men to enter the care workforce so we can have a better equitable distribution and also challenge some of the gender norms that we have associated with the provision of care. So far, we've had some really encouraging feedback that this project is delivering great outcomes for both carers themselves as well as those that are receiving care. And we see that this kind of investment can lead to more scalable other investments in other countries in the region.
I'd like to share a very powerful story that doesn't relate with women, but with men. We ran a campaign called Flex Your Husband, and we used the peg of Father's Day to show male models who have taken it upon themselves to share more in the unpaid care work burden at home. And we ran this campaign on Facebook, and families would put up pictures and stories of fathers or husbands or brothers who actually have started shifting gender norms at home and taking on more of the care responsibilities. Through this campaign, we'd like to start modeling positive norms, maybe particularly with young men who are now recognizing that there's no shame in doing household chores. And by so doing, present themselves also as a model for other men and perhaps demonstrate that masculinity can also be exercised in support of women.
In terms of addressing care needs and also working with care workers, we think that care workers should be part of every society's normal behaviors and normal lifestyle, and where domestic workers should be recognized as care workers and also workers who have equal rights in the care space. That is something that we look forward. So for that, we are thinking that more and more domestic workers should be organized, should be collectivized. There should be spaces that make them recognize their rights as workers, and also the state should recognize the presence of these workers and their contribution to the economy and also to the needs of the societies through legislative recognition, through policy recognition, and also through inclusive social security mechanisms.
We had in Lao the ASEAN Conference on Inclusive Business. We also seen many organizations we support, especially Lao Women's Union and others, coming together, grassroots women, and making a difference in their lives through economic initiative. Oxfam supports many of the grassroots groups, especially women's groups, for entrepreneurship, economic entrepreneurship. We give the seed money and provide support for this, young women to come up with innovative productions, and we also help them to do the marketing. So as a result of this, our work in almost 8 countries of Asia, this economic empowerment, there are more than 200 organizations, women's groups, have achieved not only livelihood support, they have been able to compete in the market with their product. I think that was a very great example of transforming the lives of people through economic entrepreneurships.
The example I want to give you is actually a commitment that we have made. And our target is, within the next 1 year, every village in Bangladesh will have a caregiver, will have a social worker, so that we reach every single household in the country. our women's ministry, our social welfare ministry reaches the grassroots. And that will be our front line. And I believe with that critical mass, our institution will take a huge leap forward.
I would like to share the aspiration that the Malaysia has put in place in terms of the framework on the care industry. When I mentioned about 60% of women participation labour market is referring to the Madani economic framework that has been launched by our Prime Minister in July last year, whereby we set up that for the next 10 years, within the next 10 years, we should have achieved at least 60% of women working in the labour market.
For the first time ever, we have the first female House Speaker, who is a very strong politician, very dedicated women. I hope that it inspires, and I believe that it inspires other female politicians in my country and in the region. For every woman in politics, what we do is to inspire and to motivate other women. We will continue to emerge as long as we invest in ourselves.